For part two of our look at guitarist Martin Barre, I wanted to focus in on his work on Jethro Tull's 1973 album, A Passion Play. A Passion Play has divided opinions between Tull fans and progressive rock fans since the day it first appeared on the record racks way back in July 1973. Some love it, some think of it as the best thing since sliced bread, others can't stand it and think it overblown, pompous, impenetrable and a musical cul-de-sac for the band. I made a video, there's a link in the description, about how all the negativity the album and the live performances created back in the day and how that impacted on the band. Personally, I love the album and I feel it was a brave, courageous move for the band. They said to the fans, you want a concept album? You want a progressive rock album? Well, we will give you the mother of all prog rock albums. And we'll throw everything at it, even the kitchen sink. We'll push ourselves to the limits, musically and creatively. It's an album I can still listen to from start to finish, and it still astonishes, thrills and amazes me after almost 48 years and hundreds, if not thousands, of listens. But putting all that aside for now, let's focus in on the musicianship on display. I must have read hundreds of reviews, articles about the album. A few have mentioned Barrymore Barlow's masterful drumming. Some mention John Evans' keyboard playing. Many though complain about Ian's soprano sax work. And someone the other day remarkably said about Jeffrey Hammond's bass work how creative it was, which it is through the whole album. But Martin Barre, not a sausage, not a dicky bird. So let's put that right. Martin's playing throughout the album, quite simply, is a masterclass. A masterclass in creativity, accompaniment, tone, feel, how to add in light and shade. There was a good reason Ian had him in the band for so many years. Ian knew whatever, wherever he ventured musically, Martin was the perfect guitarist, the perfect foil for those adventures. And there's a good reason why other guitarists, virtuosos like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai and Joe Bonamassa, to name a few, hold Martin in such high regard. But Martin himself didn't care too much for the album. He felt that some of the music was unnecessarily complex, which made it difficult to play live. There was not one gig where I didn't make a mistake, not one ever. It was impossible. There was so much in it. I mean, not just a slip, but actually making an arrangement mistake. There was so much to remember. It was incredibly complex. Why make it a bar of 7/8 time? Did it need to be? And maybe the answer is no, it didn't need to be. I think as a listener, people like to have a rhythm, a groove, to get them involved in the music. And if you're dropping half beats all the way through, you can't do it. But as a musician, it was a real big lesson. And good to have explored that way of making music complex. But whether you'd ever want to go back and do it again, I don't think so. Martin might have felt that the music was unnecessarily complex, but I can tell you, it made for one hell of a musical journey. So let's go back and look at some of Martin's stellar moments on A Passion Play. And as the man always says, the sound starts in the head and is transferred to the amp by muscles, fingers, wrists and pick attack. One thing I will say before we start is some of Martin's guitar playing is slightly buried in the mix at times. You have to work really hard to listen, to tune in, but boy is it worth it. We'll kick off with Life Beats and Prelude. Take a listen to 1 minute 16 seconds in, when the guitar enters, that lovely, dirty, fuzzy tone, making the piece so much fuller and adding bite. In concert though, it was a different story. Martin's guitar playing was much higher in the mix, turning this jolly bouncy tune into a hard and heavy explosive opener. The Memory Bank Best Friends section starts off smooth and rhythmic, Anderson on vocals and strummed acoustic, Barrymore-Barlow on snare and hi-hat, but we are just being suckered in. 20 seconds in, here comes a brutal riff that hits you right between the eyes, along with some very jagged rhythm guitar playing. It's very King Crimson, Robert Fripp territory. The Ice Cream Lady wet her drawers to see you in the Passion Play. From 1 minute 20 seconds to 1 minute 40 seconds, the band seemed to be searching round for a riff and a groove to get into. We'll try this one. No. Try that one. No. Yep, this one will do. Once they're in that groove, it's Martin's guitar that increases the intensity, driving the music forward. All change. Ian then decides to throw in one of his best ever flute solos. It's multi-layered and multi-tracked. It's all accompanied by Barrymore-Barlow's unbelievable drumming. It's in some ridiculously obscure time signature, 12/8 or even more obscure than that. But take a listen to what's happening underneath the flute and the drums. Martin is playing this amazing rhythm guitar. This then transforms with some nice musical footwork, a nice musical shift into the almost rhythm and blues of Best Friends. For some reason, Martin's playing now gets more pronounced in the mix, and so it should do. He's white hot. Take the prize for instant pleasure, captain of the cricket team. Public speaking in all weathers, a knighthood from a queen, is followed by some lovely call and response from interplay between various members of the band. All of your best friends' telephones never called from the heat of your hand. Now listen to the guitar. Listen to Martin's guitar. It's angry, it's snarling. Live back in 73, after this first verse, Martin would break free and pour out this angry, vicious solo, which teetered on the edge of chaos. Poor Ian tried and failed to keep pace on soprano sax. Maybe it was a build-up of Martin's frustrations at the piece. Now the original mix of A Passion Play did have a kind of muddy guitar solo here, but on the Stephen Wilson remix it's been edited out. Best Friends ends with a kind of false finale, kind of a false ending, and then we move into Critique Oblique, which kicks off with the band musically imitating the sound of a train building up steam, starting slowly and then careering off down the tracks. And the train, it won't stop going. No way to slow down. And we move into what one of the UK music press called at the time a barbaric riff, which is Martin throwing down these heavy, rugged chords, accentuated by Barry's pounding, almost tribal tom-toms, and John Evans adding some rock and roll piano, Jerry Lee Lewis piano. It shouldn't work, but it does. Martin also adds in some chicken scratch guitar, at the same time as muting the strings, throwing in some slides up and down the guitar neck. This creates this effect of gunfire and bullets ricocheting. Let's move on to The Foot of Our Stairs. Now, when this piece really kicks into gear from around 1 minute 50 seconds to the end, it contains, in my opinion, some of Martin's finest playing. The band venture in to almost jazz rock, but just follow Martin's guitar throughout this section. It dances, it weaves in and out of the other instruments. It's endlessly inventive. He creates these wonderful counterpoints for the other musicians just to bounce off of. This is truly a great guitar player. Another highlight of Martin's playing on this album is the final section, the 10:08 to Paddington, Margus Perde. This opens with Ian on acoustic guitar and Martin playing some very classical some very Spanish sounding licks. Gently crashing cymbals in the background. It's all very tranquil and serene. Then all change. In comes Martin with a crunchy riff, which sounds like an acoustic guitar put through an amp. But live, Martin played this and the whole of a Passion Play just on his Gibson Les Paul, with minimal effects. I guess, as the man says, it's all in the head, the muscles, the wrists, the fingers, and pick attack. Margus Perde is full of all the things that make Mr. Barre such a great guitarist. The counterpoints, the unusual riffs, the melodies, everything has its place, everything has a reason. When I saw a Passion Play live, the whole band worked their socks off to get the music across. It was like watching a musical high wire act night after night. Martin may not have fully liked the material, but I can tell you the man put his heart and soul into these shows. So hopefully with this video I've managed to give you a new take, some new perspective on a Passion Play, or told you some things you already knew. Next up, I'll be looking at Martin's work on Songs from the Wood and Heavy Horses, and I'll leave the last word to Mr. Barre. As a band, we all helped each other. If someone couldn't play something, we just laughed at them. So, thank you for listening. Please stay safe, stay well. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow and move forward in the future. But most of all, stay safe and stay well. And I'll see you guys in the next video.